Hedi Slimane and Celine. So I'm not sure how many of you were, but quite recently, well, not that recently, maybe like 2 weeks ago, Hedi Slimane basically wrote a letter to Celine. So what you guys are seeing on the screen is the letter. The letter reads as follows. I left Maison Celine in October 2024. Since then, I have been convinced and I rejoice in it that Maison Celine will know how to brilliantly reinvent for its advertising campaigns, as well as for its institutional image, a distinctive and autonomous photographic grammar and universe proper to such a promising new chapter. This, in a spirit of creative independence and renewal, free of any survivance, of any borrowing, or any insistent reference to my photographic style, including my advertising campaigns and films with Celine. This goes without saying. It is, in respect for oneself and for others, the opportunity, the pride, and the happiness of each new talented creative team, and also of every personal photographer, to create, invent, and innovate with vigilance, originality, and integrity, to remain attuned to one's own era, and to inscribe the future successes of this beautiful maison within a world of luxury and of image in perpetual evolution. I look forward to discovering this photographic renewal at Celine and a new visionary image of a French maison to which I remain deeply attached. Hashtag fashion for everyone. New Celine, time to finally be yourself. This is obviously Hedi Slimane being messy, saying that Celine is essentially copying his photography style. Now, for those of you that don't know, as you know, there's new people to this channel every day, so I have to like re-explain these things. But basically, we covered the story. This is via BOF. This is shortly before he left Celine. And it was really talking about, can Celine work without Hedi Slimane? So it talked about how the revenues have been significant with Hedi Slimane, but also talking about how Hedi Slimane can be quite difficult to work with, how he didn't work in a headquarters. He worked out of Saint-Tropez. It also talks about the likes of the fact that Hedi Slimane has like crazy control, that he was in charge of the campaigns and he was in charge of the perfume line and he took royalties on the campaigns and on the line. It's a big reason why when Hedi Slimane left, they literally were not allowed to like use any of like the material anymore. They couldn't use it. So the long time they couldn't post because they couldn't use any of the material, because technically Hedi Slimane owns all the rights to all of it. He shot it. So kind of just like talking about all that sort of stuff and kind of how can Celine have a designer that like has that much of a strong visual identity. And I think he does have a strong visual identity, even in photography wise. So going on their Instagram, when you look at their Instagram, right? Let's go down. So this earlier stuff definitely looks like Hedi Slimane, like style of photography. It does. So I get where he's coming from. It does. This, like, you know, Hedi Slimane to the core. Like you look at it, it's Hedi Slimane to the core. Like it's Hedi Slimane to the core. That is actually Hedi Slimane stuff. But then you start going, it's like, oh, they're just continuing the Hedi Slimane stuff. Then they change the style a bit. You can see from when Michael Ryder's collection dropped and they started, you know, showing, like, it still has a similar energy, but the coloring is different. There's a bit more contrast. Kind of went back to kind of the Hedi Slimane stuff. Like this kind of stuff here is very Hedi Slimane. And that's why Hedi Slimane kind of gave them a soft warning. Even stuff like this is extremely Hedi Slimane, right? So gave them a soft warning. And if you know anything about Hedi Slimane, you know that Hedi is one for the lawsuits. Like we know about Hedi Slimane and his lawsuit. We know that he's, you know, won 8 million in a lawsuit with Saint Laurent. We know that, you know, he won't shy away from taking these brands to court. So if Celine knows what's good for them, to just switch up the visual identity so that Hedi Slimane does not knocking with a lawsuit, because we know he has that reputation. That being said, I have very much enjoyed what Michael Ryder has done so far. As time has progressed. So I think that, you know, pettiness from Hedi Slimane was I think it's not like he's copying Hedi Slimane. Like it's a totally different visual identity and visual language. But there was some, people on the team, because Michael Ryder doesn't control every people on the team that were so used to the Hedi Slimane way of working that's why they still had those sort of black and white portraiture kind of looks that we know Hedi Slimane for. But yeah, I just thought it was a funny story to cover. Hedi Slimane being petty as ever. And sending them that passive aggressive letter. I think that's absolutely hilarious, to be honest. Protecting his intellectual property in the most passive aggressive manner. Facts. Definitely is. He's one litigious queen. Said, forget my name and immediately. That's me. Yeah, facts. Facts. But no, I've enjoyed the Michael. I don't know about you guys, but it has been doing it, Celine. I definitely am going to do a stream when I get around to it, just revisiting his debut collection, knowing kind of what I know now and like some of the clothes up close and all that sort of stuff.